I'm about to set you men straight, you pray for the flow. Once a month you drop some hell waste, then label it gold. Once a year I drop some head weight, then label it old. But once I'm cleaning up the mess made, you label me gold. Couldn't be keeping the truck in the stars, nothing to clean on. I'm going to keep it a start for war, what should I be on? We live in a double, you live in a bubble, there's nothing to shoot on. I'm grabbing a playlist, a book, and I'm rolling a...
Hello world, this is an all-access documentary on me. My name's Ryan Davidson, aka Rkham, and this is my story, and I'm home. So, growing up, I grew up in Roscoe, Illinois, my entire life. Lived in the same home my whole life. Two parents, mom, dad, Kevin, Connie, and my brother, Connor. I have two half-brothers as well, Andrew and Trevor. Really growing up, people might think that it was like a very traditional household, you know, not a whole lot going on. Pretty standard, pretty sufficient. Dad owned his own business. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. And we really had a good childhood. Had some bumps in the road, obviously, as many families do, but overall had a good childhood.
Growing up with Rkham was pretty cool, you know, being little kids. Used to play with each other a lot, watch movies, eat a lot of snacks together. And I mean, I don't remember a lot, like, you know, because you're little, of course, but, you know, growing up, going to school, he was always, since he was, I think, 2 years in front of me, we never really had class and stuff together, but we always were in the same kind of, like, area, you know, and it was always cool to have him around and do stuff together as little kids, play sports, play football and stuff like that. And then once we got homeschool and stuff, we were together a lot more, hung out, did school together in our classroom. And it was really cool, you know. Not a lot of siblings get to spend a lot of time with each other. I mean, a lot do, but there's also a lot that don't. But I got the privilege to get to hang out with him a lot.
As far as schooling went, was actually homeschooled from, I believe it was 5th grade on all the way through graduation. So that was a very unique experience. You get to teach yourself a lot of, you know, ways of learning. It's not a very standard set way of learning, but I will say it takes a lot of drive and self-motivation to push yourself to want to graduate, because at the end of the day, you really don't have teachers there to guide you. At least I didn't. And it really took that motivation to push myself to say, hey, I want to graduate. And it was just really a very big learning process, and I think it helped develop me into who I am today, very self-sufficient, very motivated, very driven. And it was just a really crucial point in my life into kind of growing into the person that I am now. Hands down, the closest relationship I've had with any of my siblings is my younger brother, Connor. We were tied at the hip growing up. I mean, we did almost everything together, whether it was toys, video games, and even to this day, we are still super close. Right now, we bond over, you know, music, really. Music, listening to beats, just going for drives for hours. We will literally drive from we've driven from Madison to Chicago, just listening to music. I mean, that's our world. That is just something that we really bond with now. We bond with football. We'll go out and play basketball, football, any kind of sport, and really just still maintain that brotherly love, that brotherly relationship. And, you know, we have no problem with goofing around, joking around. We have a more mature kind of sense of humor now, but we still remain that childlike qualities are still intact in us. And it's still good for me personally to have that relationship in my life with that part of the family. And I always pride myself to make sure I don't lose that. So whether it's taking out time on my schedule to set aside time to be with him, to spend time with him, is a very big point for me and is a very key part of my life then, now, and going forward.
The baby cake. Now he's got the thumb. Okay,
To a
we're
certain
gonna
point
start
in our
falling
life,
and
we had a
stuff.
very
Say
good
hi,
childhood, you know, really steady household. But after, I would say it was about 2009, things got very rocky in not only our family dynamic, in my parents' relationship, with certain problems.
Look at me. He says, I'm gonna rip your face off.
Hi.
Here
Comes Ryan.
It's hard to get into detail because I like to keep some of that private for the people involved. But it was really a battle of addiction. And with any sort of addiction, it takes a toll on the whole family involved. And it's never just one person that's just involved. It really takes a toll on everyone. And I think from that point on, that family dynamic changed. It never quite went back to the way it was. Even to this day, it is something that takes a toll on everyone involved in our family, mom and dad.
Ryan, draw for mommy. Oh, got the tongue out too. There you go, come on.
And,
so cute.
you know, there's a very big character building moment in all of that. You learn the do's and the don'ts. You see the bad that addiction can cause. And so I think for me personally, I really learned a lot from that to just, you know, not to want that life, to see what could happen if I was to take that specific road in my life of any path that could lead to addiction, whether it's alcoholism, drugs, no matter what it is. It was really a, you know, just a very big moment in my life where something's put in front of you and you're almost given a decision. It's like, if this is what you want to do, these are your consequences and these are the causes of your actions. And I think that strained my family's relationship. I still remain very close to my family today, but I don't think that things have ever been the same. At least for me personally, it's taken a toll on my trust, on my love for my family, because you see something so big going on. You're wondering, why aren't you getting help? Why isn't this stopping? And, you know, after a certain point, you stop asking to do it for me and just to do it for themselves. And even when they still don't do that, you don't understand. Yes, you still love them, but it takes a toll. And personally, I just don't think it's ever fully recovered. I don't know if it'll ever fully recover. But like I said, I still remain very close to my family and I love them dearly to this day. I hope that we can be able to work past that and remain close, remain strong. But who knows what the future holds.
Marshmallow here. See, this is my first marshmallow, and I think it tastes pretty good.
I grew up in a pretty religious household. It's odd because my family was kind of like the half in, half out. They, especially my mom, instilled in me good moral values based on the Bible, based on God. And it really helped mold the person that I am today. It taught me a good sense of right and wrong. But like I said, growing up, it was almost like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We'd show up on Sundays and, you know, we would almost do the minimum, but then you go home and you hear the fighting and you hear things again. And I'm not saying my family was like loose when they weren't there, but we could have been more dedicated to it. And the religion that I was Jehovah's Witness. And I'm not here to bash any religion, any religious views, any religious beliefs. If anything, that religion taught me, you know, more than just religion. It taught me spirituality. It taught me my love for God. And I do view his name as Jehovah and his son Jesus. Regardless of my status in the religion, I do wholeheartedly believe that. And I use that knowledge solely based on what the Bible teaches. And growing up, I really took to the religion. I can't recall the scripture, but what really stood out to me with the witnesses was the preaching work, was the door-to-door work. And a lot of people, give them crap for going door-to-door, for lack of a better word. But there were good-hearted people just really trying to spread Jesus' message and trying to get it to so many people to help them, because in their eyes, they're trying to help them. There were some people I came across working with door-to-door that I felt did too much preaching and not enough teaching and listening to people. For me personally, if somebody knocked at my door and I felt like you were just, magazine placing or just trying to rush through a presentation and not really caring about what I had to say, I would never listen. Like, I would just shut the door, I'd be on my merry way. So when I got the opportunity to talk to people, I was very shy, very anxious. It is not a normal thing to knock on people's doors Saturday at 9, 10 o'clock, whenever it is, and talk to them about the Bible, because that's like the last thing on people's minds. They don't want to be reminded. It's almost better as if they don't know. But if I ever got the opportunity, getting over that much anxiety would be really just to talk to them, to relate with them, let them know that I'm there as a friend, and we could have a religious discussion. We are not going to believe the same things, but the importance is of bonding with them and kind of respecting the differences, but finding what we do agree upon and letting our actions speak for themselves. I can only spread so much of the Bible's message to you, but if I don't practice it myself, people can spot, that fakeness, that, just I'm here because I have to be. And I never liked that. It was always about teaching. It was always about showing, compassion, love for your neighbor. I mean, that's part of the golden rule. Like, love people as you love yourself. And growing up, I had a lot of people that took an interest in me to help grow me spiritually. And it wasn't my parents, initiative that forced me to go. It was on my own account that I believed in this religion. And, my grandma raised my dad in it, and my dad at a very young age just said he couldn't live it. And it's not the easiest lifestyle. I mean, once you really dig into it, there's a lot of things that are frowned upon. Case in point, any sort of dating without a chaperone, any sort of dating outside your religion. There was a lot of things that I had to go through personally to overcome that. They use Bible-based standards to base that Christianity on. And I do believe in a sense that there is more than just being a good person to really cultivate a friendship with God. Because if you think about it, you don't cultivate a friendship by just claiming that you know somebody, or just being a general good person to them. You really have to put in time, you have to put in effort to cultivate a friendship with anybody in your own life. So even more so, God. So a very big part, I believe, in my not only musical growth, but my personal growth had to be my first relationship. I was with a woman named Natalie for almost 2 years. My first relationship, and coming out of the religion that I was, for me to be with her posed a lot of problems. Not only for myself, but for her, religiously, with her family, with my immediate family, my also spiritual family. And honestly, we had, in my opinion, a great 2 years. Fell in love with her immediately, and just really appreciated the opportunity I had to be able to love her. And I always knew growing up, seeing my parents and how much they fought, that I wanted to, if I ever had the opportunity, I wanted to be able to love somebody the right way, to really give somebody my all. And I always told myself, even at like a super young age, like probably too young, but that if I ever got the chance to love a woman, I would do it right. That I would really give them my all, my attention. And that's what I did. Like I said, the first couple months were very, very shaky. Just for religious reasons, things out of my control, me not understanding exactly what was happening and the magnitude of what other people saw with me being with somebody that didn't believe exactly the same way. This next part is hard because there are still people out there that don't know, and I kept this a secret. Me and my girlfriend took that trip out here to Cleveland, and that is where I had lost my virginity. So there are probably people that, if you are seeing this, might never talk to me again, on top of the people that don't already. But at the end of the day, I loved her for her. There was nothing that I would have changed. And like I said, we shared a lot of amazing memories, and it was somebody that I did think that I was going to marry. That's why this location, Cleveland, this specific trip, location, hotel, everything, was one of the first and last big trips that we ever took. And it has very sentimental value to me. And after that relationship ended with my girlfriend, I had disclosed that. And next thing I knew, I was being harassed again about, you need to tell them or we will. And personally, I tried to backtrack it and deny it, for the sake of, I knew what would happen if that ever got out. I was made very aware that I had already been talked to, I believe, twice at the time, that if I was talked to a third time, I would be disfellowshipped, or essentially kicked out of the religion, and could come back after a certain amount of time. I denied it for my friends and my family, and I didn't want to face the music. And that is by far my biggest regret, that I just wasn't honest with myself, that I just didn't admit to it. My problem was that I was so harassed by even people in high positions and made to feel worthless. I was very tired, and to this day I still believe that there is a sense of that relationship is between you and God, those decisions. And I tried to go in there to try and defend myself, to keep the people that I loved in my life. There are people that I do love very much in my life that have chosen to still be around me, and for them I'm truly grateful. But obviously if I was kicked out, I didn't win that appeal. And that was stressful in itself, meeting with elders and small judicial committees. It was hard. There's some things they don't want people to fully see, and that was my big thing. Once you peek behind kind of like the curtains of religion, sometimes there's a lot of flaws, and sometimes you can overcome them. This was different. I didn't feel that love. I didn't feel that, joy. And for my actions that I made, in our religion, any sex before marriage is frowned upon. It's a very big deal, and it is a big deal to me personally too. When that ended, I was in a very, very bad place, very dark place, because no matter what I did, I wanted her back, and I really thought that she wanted me. And at the end of the day, it was probably very hard on her, the situation she was in with her mom. Her mom was very religious. Her family was very religious, and I know that she wanted that for her kids. And I knew there was a problem. One day we had gone to a Chicago Bears game, and I was driving her back to school. And she kind of just let loose. She's like, well, what if I want my kids to celebrate and to share and all that. And I go, I don't know, I will promise to do what I can to what I'm comfortable with, and just try to do everything that I could to make her happy. And I just finally looked at her and I said, if our kids chose not to celebrate, not because of what I told them, but their personal choice, would you be mad at me? And she said, I don't know. And I kind of knew at that point that we had a problem and that we might be nearing the end of that, but it was still very, very hard for me because I had fought so long with so many people to stay with her, just in the end to lose her the way that I did. I shared so many great memories with her together, and I truly was in love with her and loved her, and I could tell that she felt the same. And that's why I was very, very lost as to why things had ended. And that really poured out in not okay, because it really was almost like a cry for help. It's like, I'm not okay. I don't know where to go from here. And it's hard, at least for me, to try to tell somebody again that you love them when there's somebody else out there that you felt that way. And that was very hard for me at that time. Once that ended the way that it did, I felt so vulnerable, so hurt, so angry, and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, I felt so insignificant. I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a purpose. Like, my life literally felt like it was chopped up into different chapters. And being with her, that chapter totally changed. It was going from, supporting her schooling, going to school, getting a normal job, and moving. And after she left, it was basically starting from square one. And like I said, I was extremely angry and extremely bitter. And what got me into hip-hop was it was probably unhealthy, but it was pure revenge and pure anger that said, you know what, screw it. Like, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to do something so great, so different, so odd, that you're gonna wish you would have stuck around. And there was always parts of me, like, through the whole process, that wishes I would have seen her again and got to tell her what I do now. And it was just pure, it was pure anger and pure sadness. Yes, do I love music? Absolutely. But me growing up, I never had a background in music. I never took music lessons for singing, for instruments, for production, nothing. And hip hop, like, growing up in my household, you had either like thousands pop music or country music. Like that, there's no hip hop in there. I didn't even have like a list of like top 5 favorite hip hop artists. I never rapped. Like, full disclosure, 2 years ago, I never rapped. Like, there was never a moment in my life where I could freestyle. I was horrible. I don't even still think I'm that great, but I was horrible. I didn't know the first thing about hip hop.
Want your 6-inch toasted?
Dude, this ain't You got my burger cooked?
I always loved to sing, but I never thought I had the best voice to make it as a professional singer. So I always thought, I can learn hip hop, I can study the culture, I can study the game. And that's where being that homeschooled student really tied in. It taught me that motivation and self-drive to say, no matter what I put my mind to, you can do it. If you work hard enough, make enough sacrifices, and really dedicate your time to it. And I mean really dedicate your time, and there will be sacrifices that I will have to make in the future, and that for people starting, they will have to make. A little bit about what I've been able to accomplish so far with music. 2018 really was just kind of, finding my way. was a lot of purchasing the products, kind of getting set up, learning the ropes. But within that first year, I went from never rapping before to releasing my first album. I believe in total that got SoundCloud statistics were taken down after I closed my SoundCloud, but I'm pretty sure it was close to 250,000 streams for my first album. Completely independent. All that money came out of pocket. There were, personal loans taken out to be able to fund this and market it. And I was able to cultivate quite a big fan base already. I got to perform for the first time. I got my first song played on the radio, even if it's online radio in Chicago. I got featured in multiple news magazines and blogs, some that I've shared before reviewing Pen and Paper. I got featured on a radio station in New York, iHeartRadio, with interviews. I got to do my first podcast with Fernando. I got to make a lot of connections, very fast. I got to feature on people's projects. And really was just kind of, building my repertoire, building stuff up. I started, the merchandise and was able to get merch out to people. And really, the biggest thing is having people realize what you do. I remember starting my latest job at Woodward. My first day in orientation, when they asked what we do and what we like to do, I announced that I was a model and that I did hip hop. So, first day, that is probably not the normal thing to announce in an orientation when you've just got what people view in my area as a really good job. But, that progression slowly came. And I had a lot of doubts about how people would take to my sound because I've never done this before. So I could make some totally whack and put it out on an album and have no idea because I've never had people ever really give me feedback on my music. And on a 10-track album, I believe we interchanged pretty close to 20-30 tracks on Pen and Paper. A lot of early drafts of songs that I did not like. It was just too clunky. It was too much of a learning curve, and I just cut it. But once that dropped on December 15th of 2018, I saw people kind of pour in and enjoy what I do and were impressed. They're like, wow, he does this. And that kind of solidified it. It's like, okay, people enjoy what I do. This isn't just me anymore. This is, people enjoy what I do. And that whole year was really just learning and establishing myself as a small artist, doing interviews, doing music videos, just trying to learn. And in 2019 is when, okay, I said, we're going into the second year of this. Now I got to take my music to the next level. And April 1st dropped Rap Sheet, which was, in my opinion, a very big step up from my previous project. Starting my own business, New Horizons. We kind of co-founded it with a buddy of mine. I needed to solidify it to try to recoup some funding and build up my merchandise company. And that year alone, started that business, kind of came up with my slogan, I'm home. And that slogan is really exactly what it says, I'm home. Music gave me that home when I didn't think I had anything, when everything changed in my life. Music, quieted that storm, and it gave me that purpose, and that's why I've just ran with it. And really starting off, you face a lot of what's the word? Oh, not necessarily stereotyping, but basically people fit me into a very white rapper box. He's trying to sound like an F. He sounds exactly like Eminem. And it's that's great comparisons. They're great company to be put into, but I'm not going for that style on my own thing. And Rkham was really that birth of, you know, a love for comic books, a love for Batman, and incorporating my name into making something that is my own, you know, building my own brand, building my own genre, my own sound. When you hear a song come on, you're like, oh, that's Rkham. That is Rkham. And 2019 helped me kind of shift that narrative from going, well, you're trying to sound like this, or you sound too much like that, into making my own sound. So after you had Rap Sheet, you had All I Know. The cover was, you know, based in a spaceship in my gray and black hoodie, but riding to this tropical place. And that's something that Eminem or NF would never do. And it was really kind of showing my own style. It's like, yeah, I love hip hop. I really have grown to love hip hop, but I love to sing. I love that sound. I love the melodies that come with it. And since creating that sound too, more fans, you know, more followers, more love for what I do, and being more experimental. 2019, there were a lot of chances I took on making Welcome to Forever compared to Pen and Paper. There were opportunities that I would have never done or shied away from on the first album that I was way more comfortable trying the second time around. And I think overall that production and that taking the chance on that album paid off. And 2019, there wasn't a whole lot of music that dropped, but I solidified more so who I was. I was invited to Nashville to join the Extreme Tour, went out to Pittsburgh to work with Fernando and shoot Rap Sheet. It was the first time I'd ever been on location to do work. And that's when it becomes more real. You're no longer just doing this in your room anymore. You now have a business behind you. You now have obligations. You are now traveling for your work. You are solidifying yourself in this career. And late that year, Bentley Records had offered me a small kind of like record deal, to basically an artist development deal. And the second project hadn't come out yet, and I was just like, you know what, it's not time. You ever get that feeling when it's like, you know, this is my baby, this is my brand that I'm building, and I haven't even solidified fully who I want to be. Like, I need to keep building this for myself. I need to stay independent and keep learning. 2020, when I released Welcome to Forever with my brother, you know, not only did that solidify him as an artist, but that transcended the sound I want to have. Transcended the production, it transcended the sound, the quality. I sounded much more polished. There's probably nothing I would go back and really change on that album. The first one, yeah, there are some songs on there that I go back and listen to and it's like, I wish I could have tweaked that. Like, I wish I would have done that way different.
Well, it was really cool collabing with them. You know, anytime you get to work with your brother is a unique experience, especially for someone like me who's learning. He's more experienced in it, so to get to see what he does and to get to apply it to my work is important. And it was just cool to work on an album, conceptualize ideas with him, like doing Worldwide together. It was really cool because I remember we were driving in the car and we found the beat and we both just looked at each other like, this is really good. And we were trying to find something because we had some songs for the album, but we didn't have everything completed. And when we heard that, I was like, all right, like this is another song for it. So it was cool to do that and work together and come up with a good idea and a good concept for it. Rest of Our Lives was a really cool one to do. And it's nice because he's my brother. I love him a lot, and it's cool to share a bond with him and work on an album, create something together, and work on songs and just to try to make something, you know, really good.
It is just establish the fact that, you know, I want people along for this ride because I know where I'm going. Like, you might not think I'm going to make it, and maybe our definitions of making it is different. In my eyes, I've already made it. I'm doing what I love as a business, as a career, and that's motivated me and changed my way of thinking on so many different things. I mean, that's given me the opportunity as well to, be a brand ambassador for a fitness company, something I love to do, provided me platforms to travel. Now people are starting to come to me asking me, for my opinions on things and for marketing. And I just want to keep learning, applying for different jobs in the music field, going back to school to get my music business license. Like, this isn't just a dream anymore. This is now a reality I'm building to get to that point of, full time. This is the way I make money. No longer having that, career as the forefront and having that day job. And people like Fernando, people like, my friend Keese, Carter, Eric, Connor, surrounding myself with like-minded people has helped me learn from them, appreciate what they do and their grind, because it's hard. It is hard in this industry when you have thousands and thousands and thousands of people trying to get where you want to be. You have to not only stand out, but you have to work harder than the other person. And even the people that work hard don't necessarily blow up and make it. But at the end of the day, if it's a passion and you love what you do, you're going to get there. You just have to realize the right sacrifices to make, the right people that surround you, the right investments, and your time and your money and your energy. I believe as an artist, you keep creating, but you have to set aside time to, market yourself and brand yourself into what you want to be. I can keep creating and creating, and if I can't get it to the masses to help people, it's just basically bedroom music. And for some people, that's okay. For me, trying to make a full-time career out of this, I have to get this to people. I have to make sure that people are hearing it. And if they don't like it, listen to the criticism, listen to the negativity, and learn from it. And, take the positives, but you gotta take the negatives. You gotta keep learning. And this opportunity to do this documentary is just like the cherry on top of a very crazy 2020. I mean, for so many different reasons. I mean, we've lost a lot of people. We've had to fight through a pandemic that we've never seen before. I mean, there are artists, big time artists, that are like struggling, going broke because they can't travel, they can't perform. You got to get creative. I mean, you got to learn. But this documentary, is capping off a very tumultuous year, but on such a good note of, I wanted to share my story with you. And when Fernando had asked me for, what I thought about this opportunity, I was extremely humbled and grateful, because it's like, this is a movie about me. Somebody views me, a close friend of mine, as they like where I'm going, they see myself going places, and they want to be a part of that story. And I think when we talked first time about it sounded like an hour-long voice memo, just a voice memo of what I wanted to talk about my whole life. And I told him, I said, you picked a hell of a person to do this about, because I have a lot to say and I have a lot to give to people. And he's helped give me a platform and taken out the time to help get my platform out there. And for him, I'm totally indebted and grateful for, the opportunity he gave me back in 2018, 2019, the opportunities now, and just being a friend who's been there, been honest, just a good person that works extremely hard at their craft to get better and to keep learning, to make this full-time for him as well. And he's already done it before, and I know he'll do it again. And this is just a lot about me to take in, but there's a lot I've already accomplished, written reviews, written blogs, pieces in magazines, being on the radio, being considered by record labels, getting to travel for work. How many artists in 2 years, let alone, their whole career, can say that they've done that? With no prior experience, I am extremely happy with where I am, and I know where I'm going. So when I say 2021, we're just gonna keep getting bigger, and every year after that, we're gonna keep getting bigger, and it's not gonna stop. So people might treat me different, treat me like I'm better than you. No, I am not better than anybody at all. I might have a different kind of work ethic and different kind of drive, and I might carry myself internally like I have a chip on my shoulder and something to prove. But that's because I know I have it. And I have to make sure that I watch myself and carry myself in a good manner that represents myself and my family, and the family I really hope to have in the future. But I will never act like I am better than anybody, because anybody could do what I do if given the same work ethic and the same drive and the same time.
You'll like this.
Thank you.
Back. I'm about to set you men straight, you pray for the flow. Once a month you drop some hell waste, then label it gold. Once a year I drop some head weight, then label it old. But once I'm cleaning up the mess made, you label me gold. Couldn't be keeping the truck in the stars, nothing to clean on. I'm going to keep it a star per war, what should I be on? We live in a double, you live in a bubble, there's nothing to shoot on. I'm grabbing a playlist, a book, and a promo to how we get put on. Coming again on my head, on my bend, on my arm, and a leg, I'm like, I'm Armageddon, and I spit it verbatim to keep
There
it
have been plenty of bumps. With every song release, I swear to God, it was like a different problem every time. But you learn and you keep growing. And that's where I really just don't care how people view me anymore. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, this is a career for me, and I will handle it as a business and as a passion. You might not see it that way. There might be people that doubt what I do, that don't appreciate what I do, think that I'm soft because I am a rapper who sings. I really don't care. Like, at the end of the day, I am here to do the best that I can, leave a legacy for the family that I have now and that I want to have. I want to leave something behind for people to remember me by. And I want to leave that legacy, behind. I want to leave this world better than when I came into it. And I really do believe wholeheartedly that this is my purpose and that this is my plan. And yeah, sure, I might not be making it in people's eyes fast enough, but I know how much I work and I know how much I've already accomplished in such a short amount of time. And I know where I'm gonna go. Wholeheartedly, I know where I'm gonna go. And regardless of who is behind me, I will always have the fans that I love wholeheartedly, my friends and my family that I cannot thank enough for all the support and the love. And I know we're going places. Like I said, I've already viewed myself as made it. We're only just gonna get bigger. So thank you for everything that you guys do, every like, every stream, every comment. Your comments and your brotherly love and your shares have gotten me through dark times past that first album and that second album. It has lifted me up and given me the courage to keep going, because it does get very hard. And I just can't thank you enough. So this wasn't really planned. Currently, I don't know when exactly this will be released, but right now I'm going through a very similar situation in my love life with somebody that I am very much in love with and love dearly, and her name's Elizabeth. And if you're watching this, I don't know where we will be at, or if what I've said about my last relationship will kind of put the nail in the coffin of us. But no, since the day I met you, I was very shy to talk to you, because I looked at you for the first time and I saw a whole life with you in a matter of seconds. You were the first girl I ever pursued, or I pursued her. you taught me a lot, that I could live on my own, that I could just be the person that I want to be and need to be, and can keep structure in my life. You helped me clean up my finances from being a startup. You helped me get to a place where I was finally comfortable. I didn't check my bank account constantly. And you made me feel special. You made me feel wanted, and you made me feel loved. Like I said, I don't know when you'll see this, if at all. But I just want you to know that I will always love you. And I will always want you, and I will always need you. And you might not feel the same anymore. I don't know what exactly happened, where that changed. But I love you, and I hope that you can forgive me for anything that I ever did. And that I take accountability for wherever I wasn't good to you, because I really tried, and I know that I love you, and that I gave you everything that I could, and that I loved your family, and I still love your family, and that you really just mean the world to me, even through everything that we've been through. Just the moments, the life I saw with you, the kids I wanted with you. I just hope that if for some reason that we're not in the same picture when you see this, that you realize that I loved you wholeheartedly, and that I will love you more than anybody will ever love you. And that I hope you can open up your heart again and realize that we can make it work. And if for some reason we are still together, then I will say that I love you. I love you very, very much and wholeheartedly, and that you mean the world to me. You are my tater tot, for lack of a better word. I can't put into words. There are no words, and you'll get that too, how much you mean to me. And I can't express how much you do. Even when we don't get along, I miss you crazy. And you're extremely smart, beautiful, and I just love you. And I am in love with you. So that is that. I just wanted to say that to you.